Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We take fascinating source material, really dig in, and try to pull out the key knowledge.
And those insights that make you go, ah,
Exactly. Today we're diving into Cole Porter, specifically his incredible skill with, well, the torch song.
right. And we've got some great stuff here defining what that even is, a torch song. It's basically a sentimental love song, often about, unrequited love or lost love.
The kind that really hits you.
Yeah, and they got super popular back in the 1920s, 1930s. Nightclubs, Broadway. That was their scene.
So what we're aiming for today is understanding what made Porter so good at these. I mean, he's known for being witty, sophisticated.
Charming, yeah. Not necessarily heartbreak, right?
Right. So what was it about him that allowed him to tap into that deep emotional well for torch songs? What was under the surface?
Well, the sources we looked at point to some really interesting personal factors, things in his life that it seems really shaped this ability.
Okay.
Let's start with something pretty significant, his private life.
Okay, let's unpack that. The material mentions, well, that he was married to Linda Lee Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
but within his social circle, he was openly gay. Publicly, though, that was kept hidden.
Right. A classic closeted situation for the time.
And the sources suggest this duality, this navigating between a public face and private feelings. Maybe loving in ways that couldn't be fully out in the open.
It gave him a direct line, maybe, to that feeling of hidden longing.
Which is like the absolute core of so many torch songs, isn't it?
Absolutely. That whole idea of desire you can't speak aloud, emotions you have to sort of contain. His own life moving between those different spheres. Well, it would have given him a pretty profound insight into that whole emotional landscape.
It's that undercurrent, that feeling of something deeply felt, but maybe not fully expressed.
Yeah.
And that seems to connect to another point the sources bring up, the emotional restraint within his social world.
Precisely. I mean, Porter was this really sophisticated guy, wealthy, Yale-educated, part of that whole high society scene in Europe and America.
Right. Lots of polish.
And in that kind of environment, there was often this pressure to keep emotions under wraps. You didn't really wear your heart on your sleeve.
So his lyrics, even when they're about heartbreak, they often have this urbane phrasing, like the pain is there, but it's dressed up very elegantly, and it mirrors that social expectation.
That's a great way to put it, elegantly dressed pain. And then thinking about his whole life story, you absolutely have to consider the impact of that terrible horse riding accident in 1937.
Ah, yeah. That was huge. Severely injured his legs, left him in chronic pain for, well, the rest of his life.
And the sources suggest this experience, this constant physical suffering, it added deeper shades of melancholy to his work later on.
Even amidst the wit?
Even amidst the wit. It's like the wit was still there, his trademark, but maybe underscored by this lived experience of enduring pain, maybe with a certain kind of grace.
It really makes you think, how does something like chronic physical pain translate into, music and lyrics?
Yeah, it's fascinating. In Porter's case, it seems like it might have just deepened the emotional well he could draw from, added a kind of authenticity, maybe, to themes of longing and loss.
Makes sense. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, let's look at some actual songs. Specific examples.
Good idea.
First up, Every Time We Say Goodbye from 1944. The source calls this one maybe his most classic torch song. Elegant, aching, very understated.
Beautiful song. And there's that key lyric they highlight. There's no love song finer, but how strange the change from major to minor.
It's so simple, but wow.
Yeah. The source explains it as this perfect musical metaphor, right, for that feeling when lovers part.
Think about it. Major keys sound bright, generally happy.
And minor keys, they just have that inherent sadness or seriousness.
So he uses that basic musical shift to mirror the emotional shift. It's just brilliant. So concise. And the words and music are perfectly locked together.
It's incredibly clever, using a specific musical idea, major to minor, to express such a complex feeling. It really shows his command of, well, both sides of songwriting, words and music.
Okay, then let's take So in Love. This is from Kiss Me Kate, 1948, described as maybe his most operatic torch song. Darker, passionate, tragic even.
Yeah, it's got that intensity. And the lyric that jumps out is, so in love with you am I, in love with the night mysterious.
There's a real sweep to that line, isn't there? A kind of grandness.
Definitely. But the source points out that just beneath that, there's this sense of, like, quiet desperation.
Ah, okay.
And that contrast, the big outward statement versus the maybe hidden inner turmoil that feels very Porter, doesn't it? Especially for his torch songs.
Yeah, that tension.
Yeah.
And night mysterious. that adds a layer of maybe uncertainty or even danger to the love itself.
Could be. Suggesting maybe loss is lurking or heartbreak isn't far away. It's subtle.
Okay, and one more, a really interesting one. Miss Otis Regrets from 1934.
Ah, Miss Otis.
This one is fascinating because on the surface, it sounds like this dark comedy piece, right? A society lady murders her lover, gets caught, gets hanged.
Doesn't exactly scream torch song initially.
Not at all. But the source emphasizes it's how the story is told. The narration is so, well, dispassionate, polite even.
Like her butler reporting it.
Exactly. And that completely transforms it. It becomes this like ironic torch song about total disillusionment. The politeness is the mask for the pain. And that famous line, Miss Otis regrets she's unable to lunch today.
Chillingly elegant.
Right. The source sees it as Porter commenting on that whole world of suppressed emotion, the despair hidden behind the fancy manners.
It's just brilliant how he flips expectations, uses wit not just for laughs, but to actually amplify the underlying pain. The understatement is where the power comes from.
Okay, so we're seeing these unique threads, the wit, the elegance, the hidden depths, the musical cleverness.
Yeah.
How did his torch song stack up against, say, his big contemporaries?
Right.
Berlin, Gershwin, Rogers, Kern.
That's a really good question, and the material gives us some comparisons. It suggests, for instance, Gershwin was maybe more focused on that jazz-infused modern urban sound, less on that really raw vulnerability you sometimes get with Porter.
Okay.
Irving Berlin wrote absolutely classic, beautiful sentimental ballads, huge hits, but maybe without that specific layer of irony, that kind of sophisticated distance Porter often had.
Makes sense.
Rogers, especially with his lyricists, Hart or Hammerstein, I mean, they wrote some incredibly devastating emotional songs, no question, but often with more, perhaps, straightforward earnestness, less of the Porter-esque wit mixed in with the pain.
Right, more direct emotional appeal, maybe.
Yeah. And Jerome Kern crafted these gorgeous, sweeping, romantic melodies, but his lyricists, usually others, didn't quite have that same distinctive Porter wordplay and lyrical sophistication.
So putting it all together, it sounds like Porter's unique magic was this fusion. Lyrical cleverness, that modern wit, but combined with this hidden melancholy.
And crucially, his command of the music itself, like those shifts from major to minor, to actually convey the emotion.
Yeah, musical mirroring seems key.
Absolutely. It feels like a real signature of how he built his torch songs.
Which leads us to, their legacy. Why did these songs still resonate so much? The source reminds us they're constantly being recorded and performed by everyone from Ella Fitzgerald and Sinatra up to, like, Lady Gaga today.
It's incredible how they've lasted. And the material suggests a reason why. It argues they aren't really pleading songs. They don't beg for sympathy. They're more reflective. They sort of accept the loss, the pain, but without melodrama.
Ah, okay. So they convey the hurt, but in these quiet, intelligent, maybe even witty ways sometimes.
Exactly. And that quiet intelligence, that complexity just continues to connect with people.
And I love this detail. The source quotes Porter from a 1956 interview.
Oh, yeah.
He apparently said, "My sole inspiration is a telephone call from a producer."
Huh. That sounds like him. Perfectly witty, slightly dismissive.
Totally. But, as the source points out, that clever quip really hides the deeper truth, doesn't it?
For sure. His best stuff, especially these torch songs, you just feel they had to come from somewhere much more profound. From his own lived emotional complexity.
Just cleverly disguised in rhyme and melody.
Precisely.
So, if we boil it down, Cole Porter's genius with the torch song seems to stem from this amazing blend. His personal life, the secrets, the social pressures, even the later physical pain.
Combined with his incredible skill with words and music.
Yeah, and that allowed him to create these songs that are subtle, yet they convey these really complex, deep emotions in a way that still feels fresh and powerful today.
Absolutely. And, it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? Thinking about how sometimes, maybe often, the constraints people live under, the secrets they keep, how that can actually fuel great art, especially art that explores those hidden feelings.
That's a fascinating point.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what other artists maybe had similar things going on beneath the surface that really shaped their work. It's definitely something worth mulling over.